In the introduction of his apostolic letter on the Most Holy Rosary, Pope John Paul II writes, "With the Rosary, the Christian people sit in Mary's school and are led to contemplate the delights of his love. Through the Rosary, the faithful receive abundant grace as though from the very hands of the Mother of the Redeemer." I personally find the Rosary is a means of comfort and a source of great spiritual strength. Particularly now at a time like this in our world, when it's very clear to me that over the last 25 years, such great devotion has grown for Our Lady. I believe that this simple yet profound prayer, the Rosary, is of great significance for all Christians, and as Pope John Paul II writes, is destined to bring forth a harvest of holiness. Many people find praying the Rosary to be monotonous because they say we repeat the same prayers over and over again. Well, the truth is, the repetition of rhythm is such an essential part of our lives, and that our lives are subject to such repetition. I mean, the world that surrounds us moves to a rhythm that repeats itself. The sun rises and sets, the seasons follow each other, and growth depends upon the consistency of that rhythm. Fulton Sheen tells this wonderful story of a woman who said to him, "I would never become a Catholic. You say the same words over and over again, and anyone who repeats the same words is never sincere. I would never believe anyone who repeated his words, and neither would God." Fulton Sheen asked the woman, Who's the gentleman standing next to you?" "My fiancé," she replied. "Does he love you?" Bishop Sheen asked. "Absolutely. But how do you know?" "He told me." "What did he say?" "He said, 'I love you.'" "When did he tell you last?" "About an hour ago." "Did he tell you before?" "Yes, last night." "What did he say?" "I love you." "But never before." "He tells me every day." Fulton Sheen said to the woman, "Don't believe him. He's repeating. He is not sincere." The truth is, there is no repetition in the words, "I love you." People in different ways tell us many times they love us, but they can never say it enough. And each time they say it, it means something different. Love is never monotonous when spoken from the heart. In saying the Rosary at each decade, our mind is briefly focusing on a particular event in Jesus' life that speaks to us of his love for us. For example, from the first sorrowful mystery of Jesus praying in the garden to the final sorrowful mystery of Jesus dying the agony on the cross, we have a clear demonstration all along the way of the different events in which Jesus is saying to us, "I love you." And in each event, the agony in the garden, the scourging at the pillar, the crowning of thorns, the carrying of the cross, the dying on the cross, we are moved to say through Mary, "I love you, Jesus." You see, the beauty of the Rosary to me is that it is not just a vocal prayer. How often do you watch a commercial where a person is speaking while there's beautiful music in the background? And this music helps to sell the message, and it gives force and dignity to the words. And the Rosary is just like that. While we're saying the prayer, The heart is not hearing music, but it's meditating on the life of Christ all over again. And as the chain links hold the beads together, so the meditation holds the prayers together. A stained glass window invites every person that gazes at it to hear the story that's being presented to their eyes in dazzling colors. Well, the Rosary invites our fingers, our lips, and our heart to move to a rhythm that is visual, that is vocal, that is spiritual, like a symphony, that should affect us differently each time we pray it. And notice I say the word pray and not simply say it. Oftentimes, if we're simply saying the words, mouthing the words, we're not using our mind to meditate on the event, and our mind is elsewhere. It's like the difference between hearing and listening. Listening has more depth to it. As monotonous as the Rosary may seem at times, and as repetitive as it may sound, it is a powerful prayer. And as distracted as we may be, and I speak for myself, we do have those moments when we briefly move from our world, out of our minds, into the presence of Mary, into the life of Christ, into the arms of the Father, into the love of the Trinity. And at those moments of prayer, we are charged with grace. We are charged with grace. Once I was visiting a friend of mine who is not what you would call a practicing Catholic. And I spent the night at his house, and the next morning, which was Saturday, I invited him to go to Mass with me, and he accepted. I asked if we could go just a little early so that I could prepare myself for the celebration. And when we arrived in the church, there was a small group of people saying the Rosary. We knelt down, and I immediately joined them in the prayer, and they were in the first joyful mystery. My friend sat next to me, and he fidgeted around for a while. He seemed restless, bored would be more appropriate. But suddenly, at the second joyful mystery, he knelt down and began to say the prayer. And by the Hail, Holy Queen, he was moved to tears. He was overwhelmed with emotion. He turned to me and said how beautiful that prayer was, and how he suddenly had a vivid childhood memory of his mother saying that prayer each morning in the kitchen after she had finished her Rosary. As we were leaving the church, he asked if he could take the missalette that was in a pew because he wanted a copy of the Hail, Holy Queen. Now, I don't know if he's saying the Rosary today, but I do know that when he said it that morning, he moved from that sitting in the bench and fidgeting to a moment of grace and experience being in the presence of Mary and in the life of Jesus and in the presence of the Father, and most especially in the presence of his mother. He remembered what he had forgotten as a boy, what he had really loved in watching his mother say the Rosary, hearing her concluding that prayer, that Hail, Holy Queen. And here he was taking this small memento, this missalette, which perhaps was a stepping stone that would lead him to find what he had lost. The prayer of the Rosary, it makes sense of our past, it gives value to the present, and it enables us to face the future with trust in God's love. By praying the Rosary, we are brought into a closer experience of God. And through our quiet meditations on the mystery of Christ's life, light is shed on the mystery of our lives.